You're live, or we are live on MX24 TV. This is the AM Club, and my name is Godwin Nambo. Welcome back. Now, it's been 50 years since the world marked World Environment Day. And every year on June 5th, we celebrate and also raise awareness on the need to protect our environment. I think it goes without saying. And this morning, joining me to have a conversation on this, on how Ghana is contributing, or how individually we are contributing to this global plastic menace, how it's impacting our world, and what we can do about it, is Richmond Kwaku. He is the director for Plastic Push Ghana, and he's here to help us understand the plastic situation in the country. Richmond, good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having us.
The pleasure is all ours. Now, before we came on, you and I were having a personal conversation about this whole plastic situation. You showed me a beach that you guys went to clean up. It's unbelievable. If you didn't show me this, it's very hard. I mean, I do know that, especially our beaches, has a lot of plastic waste. But if you had not shown me this picture, I wouldn't have believed how enormous and how immense this problem is. So I'd like to know, I was reading some numbers online, and I saw how much we contribute to the global plastic menace, over 92,000 metric tons annually, only in Ghana. How have we been entangled? How has Ghana been entangled in this plastic pollution issue?
Well, it is a catastrophic situation right now. I mean, we are where we are now because the material of plastic got introduced to us at a time where we were not prepared for it, if I can put it that way. We got a material with almost no awareness compared to other countries who had a lot of awareness already in their educational curriculum. They have the infrastructure for segregation before the with time, or they had the material with them, so they had all this built. So if you throw your mind or cast your mind back, like just 15, 20 years ago in Ghana, you and I, if we have to go and get food, we go with a basket or a reusable bag. When we want to get food, we go with our reusable bowl to get our food. And then plastics came from nowhere, and somehow with the mindset of convenience, we go and take these plastics, and that is or was the beginning of the menace for us. We did not understand the material. We came into contact with it too quickly, and it's punishing us right now.
You know, you just took me back a bit, and I'm feeling very nostalgic. I remember growing up, what we would do if you're going to buy cocoa or porridge, we used to go with our cups and our bowls and stuff. Wow. It's good that you brought this back. And so, like you said, this was introduced to us. We weren't ready, and now it's become something else. Is there a link between, let's say, rapid urbanization, changing global patterns, consumption patterns by people that is causing this menace?
Yes, obviously it's part of the reason. So at Plastic Punch, one of the things we do is we carry out periodic beach cleanups, and then we do collect data with a citizen science approach of who is polluting and what is polluting. So we are able to understand the different waste streams of the communities that we serve. And to answer your question, that is really true. So one of the beaches we work, for example, in Krowo, in Nungwa, when you compare the data sets and the types of trash you find, it's nowhere compared to an activity we would have in, say, Anyanri or in Keta. It's very much different waste streams. It's less trash. And that will tell you that, yes, urbanization is playing a very, very, very big role. And also, I mean, the convenience is something which is also causing this. And that's why, as much as possible, we need to go back to what we were doing before some years ago, carrying our own reusable bottle and our reusable bowl for our food, like the cup for the cocoa, like you just threw back. And ideally, it's not only protecting the environment, but also protecting our health when we do these things. Because plastics, what we often forget is that it has a fossil fuel base. It comes from petroleum. It's a byproduct of petrol. So anytime you come into contact, plastic comes into contact with your food, whether it's with wache or with cocoa or soup, you are leaching plastic pollutants into your food, hydrocarbons into your food. It's like drinking petrol or diesel in your food. That's what we are technically doing every time we have this plastic in contact with us. This will go a long way to bring diseases like infertility, some types of cancer that we are not aware of, and other diseases or sicknesses that scientists are not aware of yet. And these things we already start seeing in the urban areas. Consumerism, urban population growing, and losing some of our indigenous values are the reasons why we are here now.
Interesting. And I can attest to the Keta thing you said. I think 2 years ago I went to Keta and I was surprised to see their beaches. I was like, is this the same Ghana I live in? It was super clean.
Yeah.
So I guess urbanization is a problem, like you're saying. Too many people in Accra, and this is also causing that. It almost sounds like a misconception, or how do I put it, when we say that plastic is harmful to our environment. Perhaps you can break it down to the layman's level to understand really how does plastic, I mean, come on, I go and buy food, they put it in a rubber for me, or what other plastic products are there? Yeah, it's usually the polythene bags.
And then these drinking bottles.
The water bottles and all that.
Yes.
How is that affecting anybody at all?
Nice. So I'm going to take it in three ways. Okay. How it affects the human health, how it affects the environment, and how it affects marine life.
Okay.
So for the human health, like we just said, because the product is fossil fuel based, immediately we comes into contact with especially hot food. These carbons or hydrocarbons leach into our systems. So you go for your benquine, catenquine with the plastics, you are sure that you are going to be drinking some of those hydrocarbons, giving you illnesses going forward. So that is for the human side. For the environment, now this plastic, because they come from hydrocarbons, it takes like 100 to 1,000 years to decompose in the environment. So you will go for that food in that plastic bag or use that plastic bag for 5 to 10 minutes. But that plastic bag is going to be in the environment and will not decompose for another 1,000 years. That means that I use something for 5 minutes and then it's going to be in the environment even after I die. It's something we should think about. And so that is how it's affecting the environment. Now, when these plastics get into our waterways and after the rains find itself into the general ocean, this is where it becomes more dangerous because then it's affecting marine life. The ocean, of course, is one of the most important natural resources that we have. It covers 70% of our Earth. It absorbs most of our carbon dioxide and also gives us most of our oxygen. Now, when this gets there, one of the effects over there is that all these marine species, let me use the fish, will be feeding on these plastics. When the fish eats the plastics and you go and eat the fish, we are eating plastic fish. That is what is happening. Besides that, these plastics have a tendency to distract the whole marine ecosystem. So because plastics are light, they tend to float. And the ocean is always with currents.
Yeah.
Now, these floating plastics could carry organisms from a point A to another point B where it is not needed. And this is where the case of what we call invasive alien species comes about. You are introducing a species from one point to the other just because a plastic bottle or a plastic wrapper or a plastic sachet found somewhere itself into the ocean, floating and then distracting the whole coastal ecosystem. That is another point. So it could go on and on and on, and the dangers of these plastics is so enormous. Of course, we do use it in our everyday lives, but we should, as much as possible, try to replace the ones that or phase out what we do not need and go more to reuse options.
Richmond, what do you say to the school of thought that say that, this call against climate change and fighting for our environment and yada yada and all these things we do, the earth is going to fix itself. We're worrying ourselves. Human beings are always trying to do something, but the earth has a way of recycling itself and fixing itself. So this is perhaps not as important as we make it seem. What do you say to that school of thought?
That's an interesting one. That is true. That is something that, the earth will, when we talk about climate change and its stress and adaptation, the earth doesn't have a problem. Nature will heal itself. The question is, would we be able to stand it when nature is healing herself? Can we stand the storms? Can we stand the tsunamis? Can we stand the hurricane? Can we stand the severe drought? Can we stand the overheating, the rising temperatures? Can we stand these effects? Nature will be fine. Nature by marine geology The continents have been moving since millions of years, and there was the Gondwana, there were different oceans, and there has even been lost planets or continents in the past. So yes, nature is always in motion, as we are aware. Our Earth is always in motion. These changes are always going to happen. But with this man-made impact that we are causing, it's going to accelerate these changes. And the question is, can we adapt and mitigate? Nature is fine. She'll heal herself. She'll be fine. She'll continue to be here. Can we, humans, adapt to the rising temperatures?
Elon Musk will take us
and
to
the
Mars.
threats?
Anyways, so what new policies, initiatives out there are being implemented to solve this issue, and who's leading the fight? Anyways, I was telling you that I saw Gasmila is a friend of mine. I saw him. You know, he fights for this.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Beaches and stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys are also doing that as well.
Yeah, we try.
Who's leading the fight, and what policies has government implemented out there to help solve the problem?
Nice. So on the government level, in the policy direction, is the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology with its allied institutions who are leading the fight. The policy document we are working with as a nation is the National Plastic Action Roadmap Policy, the National Plastic Management Policy. That's the national direction. And at the moment, we have the Ghana MPAP, which is a multi-stakeholder platform, trying to drive certain key areas and finding out how we can best implement this plastic policy. So under this policy, we are looking, especially under the policy task force, which Plastic Punch is part of, we're looking at facing problematic plastics. So we are at the point where we are defining what is problematic plastic in our context, and then we'll see which plastics we will phase out. So there's a lot of different initiatives happening in the policy direction, but MESTI is the key. Of course, one would say that these things are taking time and we do not see the effect on the ground. And yes, the policy direction is there. Now we need investment into infrastructure, because one of the things the policy direction is encouraging, for example, is waste segregation. And if you have to segregate your waste properly and track, the waste management company comes and puts all the trash together, you will not segregate next time. So we need to build capacity along all the different actors of the value chain, and this will need some investment. But the best bet to fight this plastic pollution menace, frankly, is between me and you.
Yeah.
To reduce as much as possible, because if you do not use the product, there is no need to even manage it. And that is what we promote at Plastic Punch, specifically
others
stores reduction.
Sorry to cut you, but others will argue that, well, industry shouldn't make it available in the first place. So because people will be stubborn. Whatever you do, once I go out there and it's there, I'll buy it. You know, if it's not on the market, then we won't use it.
I agree, though. And that's why businesses should do better. Because most of the businesses could actually switch to like tin or glass rather than these plastics that cannot recycle. So yes, businesses have more role to play, or they need to play a bigger role. And that's why we are also pushing the extended producer responsibility policy framework, which will make plastic producers or beverage containers, people who packaging plastics, be more responsible for their products for the entire life cycle. Because what happens right now is if you go and buy a bottle of water, you drink the water and then the company has no responsibility anymore. Whose bottle is that? We've drank the water, but whose bottle is that? And this is what this extended producer responsibility framework is coming to do with, so that these companies are responsible for their products for the full life cycle. Then when we find your bottle on the beach, it means that it's for that company and not the blame on the consumer who just bought it and drank it. It's their responsibility to make sure that whatever they send out is brought back and recycled if they want to, or reused as much as possible.
It means that we have to hold them accountable.
Yes, everyone has a role to play in this plastic pollution menace. Government, individuals, companies, we all have a role to play. And even the local district levels, which is part of government, have a very big role to play in enacting our sanitation laws. We have laws, but why are we not enacting them? A country like Singapore, when you drop trash on the floor, you pay $500 or $1,000.
Rwanda, please, don't go too far.
Yes,
Rwanda has set the example for us in Africa.
Yes,
It segregates their plastic waste.
It's one of the case studies. Rwanda has done amazing. Even there's a lot of countries to learn from. Even Gambia has done great. And really, I'm bringing the fine parts, because I know we like money in Ghana. So if somebody drops a plastic or trash and you charge the person 1,000 cedis, and then if I am the one reporting, you give me 300 cedis, my brother, you think we'll all not be reporting and keeping the place clean? That is only one of the way. Another way is also that we need to put prices on these plastic bags.
do.
Like some countries do it. In a lot of countries do that
expensive.
already. Yes. When you go to the supermarket now, or when you go to get stuff, do grocery, they give you a lot of plastic bags like that because you're not paying for it. And everything which is free has no value. So when you are asked to pay, let's say 50 pesos for one plastic bag, when you use it, when you pay like 2 CD, the next time you bring a reusable bag.
Yes.
So this is one of the policy directions that we are also pushing and talking to all the stakeholders to enact or make try in our current dispensation right now.
This is certainly not a 15 minutes conversation. Our time is up. We would have talked about how, you and I were talking about global giants not helping this fight. And because of the billions they make every year, they're still pushing an agenda. They're finding ways and means to get their how do you put it? They are finding a way to make their voices heard in an interesting way. Anyways, what is Plastic Punch doing this celebration?
So we had a beach cleanup on Saturday to commemorate World Ocean Day as well as Environment Day, which comes today's Environment Day. World Ocean Day is in 3 days, so we had a beach cleanup to commemorate that. And what we'll be doing after every beach cleanup or from now is analyzing the data sets that we have. So what we do with the data set is we share with the Ghana Statistical Service, and with our data sets together with the Ghana Statistical Service, Ghana is one of the only countries on the global level able to report the SDG 14.1 indicators. So that is something that we have innovated, the citizen science approach. Collecting the data, we'll be understanding more from this data using satellites and using other technologies available to understand where this trash is coming from. Because we do find things which naturally did not come from the waterways. We find like a lot of textiles, we find like ties, we find electronic waste, and these things do not come from the communities. We do find the plastic bottles, the sachet, or this wrapper, water sachet. These ones come from the community. So ideally, we are going to deploy satellites and looking at the institute data that we have, be able to understand more why there's a lot of pollutants, where they come from, and what we can do to support policy direction and advocacy, as well as managing it generally.
I wish you the best. I mean, we at
Thank you very
MSN4
much.
TV are willing to also join you in this fight. And while you're at it, let's also mention that it's not just, we keep talking about beaches and dropping stuff in the ocean, but there's also the banning of plastics by locals. People don't want to pay for waste management anymore. They will ban their rubbish because it's cheaper. It's actually free to burn. All you need is matches and kerosene, isn't it?
It is more expensive at the end because when you inhale all these things, the effects, the cancer, infertility, all these. So the next time you burn plastic with your trash, think of your neighbors, think of your health. And yes, there's a lot to do. And together, thank you very much, MS24, for also being part of this fight.
Thank you very much, Richmond Kennedy Kwaku, Director at Plastic Punch. It's World Environment Day, guys, and the hashtag is Beat Plastic Pollution. Beat plastic pollution. Someone once said that to change the world, you first have to change yourself. So please do well today as we celebrate World Environment Day. You're still watching the AM Club while we are at it. I'd like to say a big thank you to my designer, Sue. Check her out, Sue, Seasons by Sue on Instagram. We'll be back.